Tuesday night, time for another mock draft. PPR, 3 receivers. Let's rock and roll. I'm Adam Azer with Jamie Eisenberg and our special guest, Dave Kluge of Football Guys. What's up, Dave? Welcome to Fantasy Football Today.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me on. Really excited about this one. Jamie and I, we just talked earlier in the week about some of our draft and risers, throughout the preseason. So excited to flip the tables now and join you guys on FF Today.
It is really great to have you, Jamie. You look very cozy as always on a Tuesday night.
Yeah, still, I think the home setup will be finished tomorrow. So, yes, well, it being forced with our test, whatever we're doing for the draftathon. So I had to email our good friend Miranda to help me out with the setup.
We're going to take a look at our draft results in just a second here, as we'll tell you who's actually in the draft. We have actually 3 audience members who bid on who donated to St. Jude, right, Jamie? 3 people generous enough to donate to St. Jude to be in this mock draft.
Yes, I'm gonna let you do the honors of pronouncing their names. But yes, we had 3 people that are just awesome. As a lot of our audience has been awesome in contributing to our draftathon, and it's just phenomenal to see the responses and 3 people drafting with us, and they'll get their recaps in the story on cbssports.com tomorrow.
Excellent. Yeah, so it's Mason has the second pick. He told me not to worry about the last name, just say E. We have Matthew with the 4th pick and OJ with the 12th pick. So really excited to have all these people in this draft. And of course, excited to have Dave in here, Dave Kluge with the 11th pick. So we are paused right now? We're paused right now, so we're waiting for one person to show up. So we'll take a look at the first 6 picks here. And Dave, you can give me your opinion. Again, this is a PPR league. It's 3 wide receivers, 2 running backs, and a flex. And what do you think about Kelsey going 4th overall?
I mean, my take on Kelsey this year is that I've got him as my 5th player off the board in PPR league. So, going where he did, I've got no problem with that. And if somebody wants to take him as early as 101, I'm not recommending it, but I wouldn't really bat an eye. When I look at that top 6 this year, I think you can kind of throw any of them up at 101. Obviously, Justin Jefferson is the preferred guy going at 101, and I think it's hard to write him off after what he did last year. But, Jefferson, Chase, Cooper Kupp, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, Christian McCaffrey, you can make a pretty strong argument for any of those guys to go at the top of the board.
Dave, what would you say? You said we were talking before the show started, because you and I I did your show, and please promote your stuff because Adams will forget. But you were talking about we recorded it on Friday, and then some things happened over the weekend and changed some of the opinions that we had. I know for me specifically, like Rashad Penny, Adam earlier in the offseason was making it the strong case for Travis Kelce to be the 101. And he has backed off of that. How do you feel about people that back off of takes consistently, like maybe Adam does?
Before you answer that, when did I say he was 101?
At the beginning of the offseason.
January. Okay. January.
What's changed for him?
It really just the realization. I don't know. He's just not going to score nearly as many points as the other guys. So it was just an overreaction to put him 101.
I think what happens is you win a lot of leagues with Kelsey on your team, and then the season ends and you go, I am taking this guy everywhere I can next year. Yeah. And then you start drafting more and you realize that you don't have to. But like I said, I wouldn't bat an eye if anybody took him 101. The positional advantage you're getting from Kelsey is unmatched. I mean, last year he had 6 points more than the next closest, which was George Kittle in per game scoring. So I completely get it. I can't push back.
Thank you. I appreciate that. But I did push back on myself. So I guess, it is what it is. I think I was going to say, to me, there's like a clear top 8. Barkley would actually be 9 for me. He went 7th, but it'd be those guys. And with Barkley, or I don't know, maybe there's a top 10, Barkley and Diggs, 9 and 10. That's how I've found it, Jamie. It's 3 running backs, 4 receivers, and Kelsey. So that's it. That's the top 10 here is to me, the top 10 should be basically in every draft. I don't know how you feel about that.
I like Pollard better than Barkley now, and I would take him over Barkley. So I guess if that's the top 8, he would be there for me, but I like Diggs ahead of both those guys as well. So yeah. I would take him over those running backs.
Who's your favorite Dave on this show?
I mean, if your name's Dave, you're the 101.
But there's 2 Daves.
Yeah.
So you're both
it's okay. Kluge can be 101.
What's up, Dave? Nice to
Sounds
see
like
you, man.
it sounds
Long
like
time
Dave's
no
in an
see.
echo chamber.
What? I'm in an echo chamber?
Yeah,
No, he sounds good.
I hear an echo. I'm sorry.
I don't hear an echo.
Maybe it's tinnitus.
That's not even really what a echo chamber is, I think. All right, here we go. More picks coming off the board. CeeDee Lamb and Tony Pollard back to back. All right, you Dave Kluge, Dave 101.1. CeeDee Lamb and AJ Brown, you passed up on Henry Chubb. You passed up on Jacobs in the second round. And you went receiver is my point. Talk about that start, and then Dave, you went receiver running back.
Yeah, I mean, I'm interested to see how the draft room falls in here. You know, looking at ADP, it's a little bit different than some of the ADP on some other sites that I've been drafting on this year. But it seems like, you know, running backs are aplenty in the mid rounds this year. You know, you can still get some decent running backs when you're in the third, fourth, fifth round. Wide receivers dry up quickly this year. I see the running backs from rounds 3 to 5 as pretty flat. Hopefully, you know, it's not going to come back to bite me when my next picks come up here. But especially in a PPR league where you have to start 3 wide receivers, I'm prioritizing wide receivers. So, you know, AJ Brown, I was happy to get him there, but I was really hoping for Amon-Ra St. Brown, who in PPR I've got him as my wide receiver 6. CeeDee Lamb is my wide receiver 5. So I was hoping for that start there. I like that pick by OJ Weber, but yeah, just PPR 3 wide receivers. I'm trying to start with 2 wide receivers just to get that solid foundation. And was happy that my 5th and 6th receiver fell to me there.
I got Diggs in round 1. Really happy about that. And I'm always going to veer toward him when I'm up in that like 8, 9, 10 range. Obviously, I would take Kupp if Kupp had made it to me. But the whole idea is I feel like I can take a running back that I know that I'll like that is close to first round value in round 2. So I take the receiver first.
Mm-hmm.
And I was hoping for Pollard. OJ Weber took Pollard. But it was still Derrick Henry. It was still Nick Chubb waiting for me in round 2. It's a close call between those guys. I took Henry.
I did something that I absolutely hate. I did a draft last night. I picked 4th, and I had Eckler and Devontae Adams. And now I picked 5th tonight, and I have Eckler and Devontae Adams. I hate that. I don't like having.
Do you hate the Adams part or the Eckler part?
I hate that I have 2 teams the exact same start. It terrifies me.
Well, we're not playing this out. It's okay.
I know, but you know, but I don't like that I have 2 older players personally, but I just couldn't really justify anyone other than Adams or Mahomes there with that pick. But
well, if it makes you feel any better, I drafted 2 29-year-olds already.
hey, all right. It does make me feel better. Thank you. Josh Jacobs, Jonathan Taylor. What about Olave? It's not the first time I've seen him go in round 2. Dave Kluge, is that too early for? Oh, I hate that I have to specify the Dave. Is that too early for Olave?
Yeah, you know, I think I understand the Olave steam that he's getting this offseason. You know, he was great last year, and especially when you start looking at like the really nerdy metrics, you know, route run data and all that stuff, he pops off the charts, and that's what you want to see. But I don't know. I'd prefer to invest in a better offense. So even though some guys are technically listed as wide receiver 2s, you know, I don't want to throw too many names out there because they're still on the board. But, you know, Devonta Smith and some of these other guys, I actually prefer ahead of Olave because we know that those offenses are going to be a little bit more fruitful. And then you're also looking at some contingent upside, you know, if the wide receiver 1 goes down. So I get the allure of Olave, but especially with these reports that Michael Thomas is healthy and in camp. I mean, you don't want to bet on it, but I don't know. I think there's a lot of downside with drafting Olave that a lot of drafters aren't really talking about.
See, allure of Olave is better than Olave oil.
No, it's not Olave oil. It's oil of Olave.
Oil of Olave, whatever you're stupid.
Yeah.
I do like that.
Allure of Olave.
Thank you.
Allure of Olave is much better.
I'm a
Jamie, you get bonus
alliteration.
points for not knowing oil of Olave.
I don't listen
Adam,
to
you
him.
lose 10 points because you know oil of Olave.
Yes, I know it. Yeah. Interesting turn there for Zach Brook, Jefferson, and then Mahomes, Andrews. But actually, Jamie, Jonathan Taylor, and Josh Jacobs are actually not in that order. You went Jacobs and then Taylor, 22 and 23 overall. Is that the right time for them? And crap, I really wanted Joe Mixon. That didn't work out, but that's okay. We'll take ETN there. What is that the right time for Jacobs and Taylor right now?
Yeah, I think so. You know, and hopefully they end up being steals. You know, if they show up and they're ready for week 1 and they're the guys that we know that they're capable of being, then this is how you win leagues, by taking guys that, you know, depress value. And when guys start to panic and they fall or certain situations, you know, there's the concern clearly that there's going to be some maybe slow start or injury risk because they haven't been practicing. But I think that's understood by where they're falling to. So yeah, I was very happy to see Josh Jacobs fall at the end of round 2.
Dave, what's your Kalugi? What's your quarterback?
You're so angry.
What Dave Richard? I'm just gonna call you Heath tonight. Dave Kluge, what's your quarterback approach?
My quarterback approach, I think there's a very clear-cut top 7 this year, and I like picking at the end of that tier. Sometimes it's Justin Herbert, sometimes it's Justin Fields, sometimes it's Joe Burrow. But seeing where Mahomes and Allen and Hurts are going this year, in the second and third round, I understand it because, look at, shout out Joe Bryant, value-based drafting. Like it makes sense for them to go there, but we're also expecting them to repeat what they did last season. And I don't know if that's possible. I think that the top 5 especially is pretty flat when you look at the range of outcomes. And then when you look at Burrow and Herbert as 6 and 7, even if you want to throw Trevor Lawrence in there as 8, I just don't think your league can really punish you for kicking quarterback down the road this year. There's a lot of really good quarterbacks, even some late breakout guys. So I'm not really falling into the trap to pay up for these elite guys this season.
Dave, you took DJ Moore. You're getting seduced by the preseason touchdown. I'm just surprised.
No,
surprised to see DJ Moore go this early. Usually he's a round 4 guy for us. I think he's more of a round 5 guy in average draft position, at least on Fantasy Pros. Talk to me about why you took DJ Moore with your 3rd pick.
Well, did you see that catch and run touchdown? I think he's got a shot to get a few more targets than we gave him credit for when he initially went to Chicago. I like the reports that Fields' accuracy has gotten better since June. I was there in June. He had some great throws, 2 more. He had some pretty bad throws to other players on the team, but he's looking better. And I think this offense could end up being a little bit better than I first anticipated. And DJ Moore certainly is a candidate to average 14 PPR points per game. We've seen him do that before, and I think he can do that again. And I'm going to get who I want in round 4 because I would have taken him in round 3, but I thought he could slip. Christian Watson.
Oh, very nice. Okay.
As my number 3 receiver.
All right. It's very obvious here that the Daves are wide receiver heavy. These are 3 receiver leagues, as mentioned. Each have 3 receivers and a running back in your first 3 picks. Jamie, you went with Josh Allen in the 3rd round, so you have 1 running back, 1 quarterback, and 1 wide receiver. How about Lamar Jackson? Should he be really in the same tier as Allen and Hurts? Jamie?
No, but he should be the start of the next tier.
So was this too early for him? Do you think Joel should have waited another round, and if Jackson had come off the board, just pivot to Fields or something?
Yes, I would have waited at least another round.
Okay. Ramondre Stevenson, Dave Richard, went right after you took Christian Watson. Were you considering Stevenson there instead?
Nope, I was not. I still like the depth at running back that's available now. I would guess that each of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 running backs that I have ranked in my next 10 best available are all going to be gone by the time I'm back up. But I've learned to embrace the idea of, if you're going to have a weak spot on your roster, make it your RB2. And I think that there are so many candidates, and we can talk about these guys as soon as next round, that will be decent RB2s that have upside to perform as rock solid starters all year long.
Let's talk about me now. So I'm on the clock. I have Eckler and ETN at running back. I have Devontae Adams, and I'm going to take a guy that, based on ADP, this is a steal. Based on everybody that I work with, their bust column, this is a bad pick. I'm going to take DK Metcalf.
Oh, I thought you were taking Najee.
No, I'm not going to take. I'm not going to take 3 running backs with my first 4 picks.
That's a good idea.
PPR league. I'm fine. There's obviously a lot of good wide receivers came off the board here, but while I do share concerns about Metcalf, this is where I'm comfortable taking him. Kluge, if I can call you that. DK Metcalf, where would you take him?
I think that's a good spot for him. I was just doing a draft earlier today where I took him at almost the same exact spot. I think early in the offseason, he was going in the 3rd round, and I think that things kind of evened out a little bit now that we've seen Jackson Smith-Njigba looking like he's ready for an NFL field. I get the risk with DK Metcalf. He can certainly bust at that ADP, but I feel like we haven't really seen DK Metcalf put together the season that we know he has in him. Like, it's only a matter of time before we see a 1,400 yard, 15 touchdown season from DK Metcalf. And maybe it's this year, maybe it's not. I think that the upside is worth it where you took him.
Let's see what happens with Zach Brook, who had the first pick, and it's also his birthday, so we'll be nice to him today. But let's see how he does at running back and wide receiver here. He only has one wide receiver and no running back. He has Mahomes and Andrews. Also noteworthy that TJ Hawkinson, all the tight ends other than the top two, are still on the board. So wonder how he feels about that. Oh, man, I'm not saying it's a bad pick because based on the rankings, Deontay Johnson was one of the best receivers available. That's the earliest I've seen him go. And by the way, Zach getting Najee Harris there, that's 2 rounds basically after Najee's ADP. Back-to-back Steelers, Jamie, your thoughts on those 2 picks after you went with Aaron Jones?
Yeah, I was actually hoping Deontay would fall to me coming back, but it's kind of speaks to what you said about Metcalf. It's not necessarily the ADP you're looking at. It's not necessarily the round you're looking at. You're looking at the receivers going off the board. You hear me say this a lot. If it's a receiver heavy draft, if it's a running back heavy draft, that's when you sort of have to look at, do you want to buy in on these runs? Do you want to take a, chance on these receivers going early and leaving some pretty good running back talent like Najee falling to the end of the 4th round? I thought Aaron Jones, where I got him, was an incredible value as well. So, it's just a matter of what you're comfortable doing. I'm just pivoting at this point. I'm not going to go chasing a receiver. I'm just going to load up and have a very good running back core. So while I may have, some issues at wide receiver 2 and wide receiver 3, if Aaron Jones, Josh Jacobs, and Miles Sanders play to their capabilities while I'm able to draft all 3 of those guys, or start all 3 of those guys, I feel pretty good about that.
Okay. I was going to have you talk through your pick, but you made it. So let's look at Matthew's team now. Kelsey, Olave, Mixon, and Drake London. He's on the clock, and we still have a lot of good quarterbacks available with Justin Fields, Justin Herbert. We have, by the way, Kluge, you said there were 7 quarterbacks. Do you not put Trevor Lawrence in that group?
I've got him just outside. He's like in a tier by himself. He is my QB 8. I feel like everybody kind of has the same take on quarterbacks this year, just depending on where you're going, how big the gaps are between those tiers. So yeah, I get a lot of pushback for that. A lot of people could say that he is in the same tier, but we're expecting him to take a step forward. We've already seen it from Herbert. We've already seen it from Burrow. So I can't quite put him in the same tier.
Okay, so speaking of quarterback, I'm going to take Justin Fields here. The best, for those of you who can't see, for all of you who can't see, who's available. Chris Godwin, Christian Kirk, McLaurin, a lot of tight ends. James Conner, James Cook, Rashad White, Breece Hall is available. But I do also find a lot of value in having a great quarterback. I'm going to take Justin Fields here, and I will tell you, I didn't want to tell you guys on the podcast. I didn't want you to make fun of me in front of that huge audience. I took Trevor Lawrence in the 4th round last night.
Why?
Because he was the 8th quarterback off the board, and I really wanted a top 8 guy. Quarterbacks.
That sounds like panic.
No, I don't think so. I think I was determined to have a top 8 guy, and that's look there. When quarterbacks fly off the board like that, it means there's value at other positions later in the draft. So, but I think I probably reached a little. But
does that mean that you are just absolutely against the other quarterbacks that are like top 10 guys? I'll name 3: Deshaun, Dak, Tua.
I'll tell you what.
That's not the order I have them in. But
I will fall back. I will fall back on Deshaun and Tua. If I don't have a top 10 quarterback, I'm disappointed. I really want top 8. I'm fine with Dak and Tua. If I don't have one of those 10, I'm disappointed at quarterback. I don't know how you guys feel about that. You comfortable with more than 10?
Yeah, I mean, I want one at a fair value. I don't want to reach for one. Sounds like you reached.
I'm fine. Yeah, I'm fine reaching for one. I probably should have waited like 4 more rounds for Watson because, of course, as soon as I took Lawrence, everybody stopped drafting quarterbacks. All right, Hawkinson.
Who did you pass up,
though? Jerry Jeudy. I got Ken Walker. I would have gone Ken Walker, Jerry Jeudy with my 2 picks. Instead, I went Trevor Lawrence, Ken Walker. So
like, here's a similar example. Like, the best quarterback that I see available is Trevor Lawrence. And I believe both Dave, Kluge, and OJ need quarterbacks. And so if I wanted to try and beat them to the punch, I can get a top 8 quarterback. This would be the time to do it in late round 5. But there's too many other players that I can't pass them up.
Who is so good that you can't pass them up right now?
Well, Kyle Pitts is the one that I took just to try and get somebody who can give me a big edge at tight end. And it just so happened that those two guys also needed a tight end. So I made the choice to go with the tight end who could be rare over the quarterback who could be good. And there's always the chance that Kluge and Weber actually don't take a quarterback with their next 2 picks each. And then I can get Lawrence in round 6, and I feel even better about it. And even if they do, there's enough running backs that are left that I'll feel okay taking one of them in round 6.
I don't think Kluge's going to take one because I know those 7 are off the board. So,
I already told you my strategy, man. I showed you my cards.
There you go. Okay, you took Kamara. Interesting pick. Give me your thoughts there. He's your RB2.
Yeah, I didn't get a strong RB2 with I like Jahmyr Gibbs a lot, but I'll figure out the RB2 situation a little bit later in the draft. But when Kamara comes back, there's no reason to think that he can't put up back end running back 1 upside. So I don't know, 3 weeks. It's easy to find a Band-Aid through the first 3 weeks. I'm not too concerned about it. If he didn't have that suspension, we'd probably be drafting him as a top 12, top 15 guy. I'm more than happy to take the discount knowing that I just got to figure it out for the first few weeks of the season.
All right. OJ's team, the first team to have 6 players, has 4 receivers and 2 running backs. Pollard and Dobbins, St. Brown, Judy, Ayuk, and Dotson. Jamie, you look at that receiving core, St. Brown, Judy, Ayuk, Dotson. Is there too much uncertainty for you there?
Not at all. No.
I think
the first 2 are awesome. St. Brown's my number 6 receiver, so I love it. Love him at that spot. Judy's got top 15 upside, so I don't mind that, especially, the end of round 3 or beginning of round 3, end of round 3. I think that's fine. And then look, Ayuk and Dotson are, I think, number 3 receivers for a reason, but both have immense upside. Ayuk certainly has shown that. And we know if there's an injury, I know there's a lot of mouths to be, but there's an injury, and that's happened quite a bit between George Kittle and Deebo Samuel. Then you could be looking at a top 15 receiver. And Jahan Dotson, I think, is going to have a breakout season in the second year, as we saw at the end of last season, and leading the Commanders in touchdowns. So yeah, I'm perfectly fine with that receiving core.
All right, let's take a look at what's going on in round 6 here. Jahan Dotson, Darren Waller, James Conner, great pick, Dave. I know you're happy about that one. Chris Godwin, Rashad White, and we are waiting on Joel for pick 6 of round 6. Let's pick a random team here. One of our guests. How about Matthew's team? Pick team 4. Kelsey, Olave, Mixon, Drake London, Ken Walker. Does anyone have strong feelings about this team?
Nope, only weak feelings.
I mean, Kelsey, Olave, Mixon.
Olave, Mixon, London, Walker.
I'm not loving Drake London. I think he's going to need a ton of volume to be really good for fantasy, even in full PPR. So he makes me a little bit nervous, and that was his pick in round 5, I assume.
Yeah.
Okay. So
4.
Was that 4?
Mm-hmm.
And then Walker was in round 5? Whichever pick he took in round 5 is a decent value. Whichever one he took in round 4, I would not have done.
But again, though, it's the receiver run. So if you want to make sure you getting a receiver that you like, that was where these guys were going.
Fine. It doesn't mean I have to like it. And there's a part of me. Walker is one of 2 running backs that I did a lot of self-reflecting on in the last 8 hours. I bet everybody who watched our earlier show today knows who the other running back is. He also wears green. There's a part of me that thinks that Walker's just an unbelievable talent.
Yes,
and
yes.
Why in the world wouldn't the Seahawks use him? I am on board with the idea that Seattle's going to throw more. Just every signal that they've given us this offseason makes perfect sense. They almost threw it a 60% clip last year. I think they go over that this year. They've got Smith and Jigba. We know about the other veteran receivers, 2 pass-catching running backs. It helps strengthen that sleeper case for Geno that, Jamie, I know you've been talking about. I think they're going to throw more, but I also think it means that they're going to have some more advantageous rushing situations, and that can help Walker have some breakout games and certainly have some 120-yard, 1-touchdown type outings. And I'm still not sure if he's not going to be the goal line back, if you follow what I just said. In other words, I think that there's still a pretty good chance that he is the goal line back for Seattle this year. And so if he is, it's not going to bother me as much if he's not getting, 40 catches over the balance of the season, because we've seen him as an erupting running back before, and might be a little boom busty still, but at least he'll have a bunch of touchdowns to go with it. If you're getting him in round 5, I think you're doing okay.
I start to get nervous about wide receivers at this point, guys. I don't know how you feel. Kluge, how do you feel about McLaurin, Lockett, Marquise Brown? There's a wide receiver that, is he gone? Jordan Addison get taken? Oh, he just got taken. That was I wanted. But yeah, definitely there's some question marks about all these guys, right?
Yeah, and that's why I wanted to load up on those wide receivers early. Even though a lot of people in this draft were, I was falling right in line with everybody else. Wide receivers dry up quickly this year, especially in this type of format with 3 wide receivers and PPR. So that's why I wanted to lock in my starting 3 early. I can kind of address other weaknesses throughout the draft, but it gets pretty scary if you don't have your wide receivers filled by the 4th or 5th round. They dry up quick, and every single guy that's on the board right now has huge question marks over his head. And I think the thing is, we have gotten so much better at projecting wide receivers and identifying those breakout wide receivers. Last year, if you look at preseason ADP, 8 of the top wide receivers in preseason ADP finished inside the top 10. The only 2 guys that didn't were Deebo Samuel, who was on pace for a top 10 finish before Christian McCaffrey showed up midseason, and Mike Evans, who had his most historically inefficient season ever. So, running backs are so volatile and they can be impacted by external factors. We're pretty good at projecting wide receivers. So I want to get those good wide receivers on my team early rather than taking shots later, when I know that the running backs that I could take shots on later are more likely to pay off at those mid to late rounds.
All right. And I skipped over this, but Jahan Dotson going ahead of Terry McLaurin. Does anybody have it ranked that way?
No, but they're close for me.
Okay. They're close for me too. I was not impressed with the first team offense in their first preseason game. I'm hoping that they look better in their second preseason game.
Yeah,
that's the Commanders.
Yeah. Excuse me. There goes Javonte Williams. So Zach took a interesting approach. I mean, in a 3-receiver PPR league, to not take your second receiver until the end of round 6, that's definitely risky. So he has Jefferson, Mike Williams, and George Pickens. But I think Najee Harris, Alexander Madison was pretty solid. Jamie, are you on the clock? Or you already picked?
I picked. You're on the clock.
All right, you took JSN. Trevor Lawrence goes. Get the length of time between Herbert and Lawrence. Pretty big drop there. All right, so
maybe too big.
I'll let you guys kind of in my mind right now. I'm down to 2 players. I'm either taking Gabe Davis, who I like, and if I don't take a receiver here, my 3rd wide receiver is going to be somebody like Juju Smith-Schuster or something. I don't really want that. But I would love to get Dallas Goedert here as well. So I'm leaning Gabe Davis. Who would you guys take?
If Goddard's your favorite tight end of those remaining, then that's who you should take.
Unfortunately, I took too long to get that question out, and I was up against the clock, so I had to take Gabe Davis.
I was actually pausing to see what was going to happen. I didn't want to tell you.
Gabe Davis is one of my favorite post type sleepers. We hear that term all the time, but last year when he was going in the 3rd, 4th round, it was kind of crazy, and then he burned everybody. But he was also dealing with an ankle injury, and for a guy like him who relies on his speed to get vertical and deep on defenses, he needs that speed. So now that he's healthy and he's going, 3-4 rounds later than he was last year, I find myself drafting a lot of Gabe Davis this year.
Yep.
I guess it's just a broader question of, do you try to get a top 7, is it 7, 8, 7 tight end, or fill that 3rd receiver? Which tier do you fear losing? Obviously, Kittle and Goddard were gone now, so I knew that was going to happen. But Jamie,
I had the same debate, because I also was lacking a 3rd receiver, and I was torn on Goddard versus Smith and Jigba, but I just wanted to see what this will look like, just to go with the late round tight end. So I let him go. Okay.
So now, do you feel like you'll be more likely to take Njoku or Freiermuth or something like that, or go with the Kincaid/Higbee strategy?
I will play the board. I'm not going to, put myself in a situation where I'm going to pin myself down to it, taking one of those guys. I prefer Freiermuth or Njoku if I can get them, but I'm also, as I said earlier today, or I think this week, taking a chance on the higher upside play, which I think would be Kincaid or Laporta, as opposed to settling for just somebody that might be an also ran type of tight end. I don't know if Freiermuth and Njoku fall into that category, but they might.
Here's a comment. Oh, wow. That is not the one I meant to click. Jeez.
What is it? Oh, I got to see this.
No, that I am sorry about that. It was the one.
Wow.
Where is the one I was going to click? Jesus, I'm sorry about that. This
Your
one.
potty mouth tonight.
That was, I mean, like, what are you doing here? Why would you bring that language in here? We don't need that crap. Captain Spock said, I like RJ and Joel's team the best so far. RJ's team is great. Look at RJ's team with the 9th pick. Kupp, Chubb, Keenan Allen, Ramondre Stevenson, Herbert, Chris Godwin, Dallas Goedert. I love this team.
It's pretty solid.
Yeah. What's Joel's team? Barkley. Oh, I don't like that Devontae Smith pick there. I don't like Joel's team as much. Somebody's got to be mean on these shows. We can't be nice to everybody all the time. You guys are too nice.
I mean, you might not have a job after what you said.
It's not a bad team. It's better than my team.
No, I mean what you did with the posting.
Oh, that thing? Oh, okay. Okay, well, if that's what you meant, then it's not better than my team. Anyway, here's Anthony Richardson, Isaiah Pacheco. All right, Dave, you go with
Mike Evans,
Pittman, and no, I'm not talking to you.
Oh, okay.
Pittman and thank you, Uncle Slayer. Pittman and Pacheco there. Yeah.
Not crazy about that, man. I was kind of on tilt. I was really hoping Deshaun Watson was going to make it to me. And then when I got up there, I was hoping to take Pittman, and then I was hoping to stack him with Anthony Richardson around the turn. Not my favorite picks there, if I'm being honest. It's I keep playing chicken on quarterback and losing.
Well, Pittman, like, eventually he falls so far that it makes sense,
Mm-hmm.
And that's
I'm not a big
Pittman
fan.
as a rookie. He was like he was
overall.
Right.
That's awesome.
What'd you say, Kluge?
As a rookie, and in year 2, we saw Pittman as a downfield threat. And then when he had to play with like the corpse of Matt Ryan last year, he turned into this really, short ADOT, just playing right at the line of scrimmage. So we know that he's versatile, and Anthony Richardson can hit the easy throws. He can throw deep as well. So I'm hoping that now we see that route tree kind of blossom a little bit and he starts playing all over the place, because he's really been pigeonholed into like one role so far throughout his career. And I'm hoping that now we can see him just kind of step up and be that, bona fide X that can kind of do it all for Anthony Richardson.
Very good comment here from Joey. I'm sorry about that. Honestly, what happens is as the comments roll in, they move. So I went to click where that comment was, and it moved up, and I clicked profanity. So I'm sorry about that. Question here from nope. See, that's not the one I was trying to. Question here from.
Is there a curse word in that one too?
No, Jackson says prefer to be balanced overall or strong in a particular position. Anybody want to weigh in there?
Balanced overall.
I'll say balanced overall, but I can roll with the punches if I'm strong at one position and weak at another.
Unless I have the most dominant player in fantasy, then I want that for sure.
Well, we all want that.
Not
That's
Adam.
the goal, is to get that guy.
Right, that's what I said. I don't want the best player.
Why don't you ask Dave 101 who he likes? What side of the equation he likes? A parody situation or having?
All right, let me frame it. Let me frame it so you don't take something that I said in January of 2014 and use it against me today. Hold on one second here. Let me make a pick. All right, everybody, take a look at my team. I think I'm going to go with a little wide receiver depth. I'm going to go off the board here. Oh boy, really? I don't think I can do that. No. All right, I'm going to take Njoku. 2 guys in front of me need a tight end, so I'm going to take Njoku. All right, so what I said, Kluge, was I prefer a season like we had last year, where there wasn't one player that was so much more valuable than everybody else. There wasn't Christian McCaffrey scoring 29 points per game. There wasn't Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
Right. There wasn't that guy that, was the use of tired phrase now, the cheat code. There was a lot more parity last year. This happened to be based on Twitter polls. one of my most popular takes, and I've been getting killed for it by Jamie Heath ever since. So would you rather have that one guy, and maybe we don't even know who it is.
Popular takes.
It was. I mean, I don't have a lot of them. I gotta call one good one out. Would you rather have that one guy who's so much more valuable than everybody else, or would you rather have a season like we had last year where it was kind of more up for grabs?
That's a really good question. I like these kind of questions. It's better than like a would you rather have this guy or this guy? I think it is fun when you can have
hang
that
around long
guy.
enough. You get a few of those.
I would hope so.
That's a good one. I think it is fun though when you have that one guy that you can just plug in. Cooper Kupp 2 years ago, where you're just getting like 30+ points, like 1 in 3 games, and like floor of 18 points per week. I don't know if you're in enough leagues, you're going to end up with that guy, which makes it fun. If you're playing in 1 or 2 leagues and that's it, you want parity. You want it to be a little bit flatter across the top because then it makes it more fair for everybody. But if you're in a dozen leagues or 20-something leagues, then I think it's fun to have that one guy that is just a complete game wrecker because you're going to have him on a handful of rosters.
You will be a terrific politician someday. Way to not pick a side. But yeah, it was really good. What do you like better, Javonte Williams in the 7th, guys, or Samaje Perine in the 8th?
Cecil Lammey over at Football Guys, he's pretty plugged into the Broncos beat, and he is really beating the drum for Samaje Perine. And he said Javonte Williams is, as close to 100% as you can be coming off an ACL tear like he had. But he said that they love what they see in Samaje Perine, and he's touting him pretty hard. So Javonte Williams has been a guy that I've been liking. Just talked about him with Jamie a few days ago as one of my preseason risers, but it's kind of hard to ignore the drumbeat for Perine coming out of camp.
I mean, here they're going pretty similarly. I mean, it's almost it's like a round and a half difference, a little bit more than that. Who's better value in this? Dave, do you have the exact numbers of where Williams and Perine went? I can't do that math.
I can go back and get it. Give me a minute.
I should be able to do that math, right? So 83rd and
94th for Perine.
No, then it's not 83rd. Then I messed that up. I went the wrong way. I was snaking the wrong way.
74 for Javonte Williams, 94 for Perine.
It's almost a 2
to
round
Jamie,
difference.
which is not a surprise at all.
Oh, look at this, Kluge. Look at that comment. Is that a relative?
Oh, no, I've never met a Chris Kluge in my life. There are very few of us. So welcome, Chris.
That's pretty cool.
How many Azers are out there?
I don't know, but if there are any, I'm related to them. So that's pretty cool. I'm on the clock. All right, here we go.
There's some schmuck in Oregon walking around going, why does everybody say I have the worst takes?
Oh, no, my guy got taken. Oh, bummer. I was hoping Traylon Burks would make it back to me. Where did he... That's very good. I appreciate that. All right, let's go with Quentin Johnston here. Get somebody on that high-powered
Oregon.
All right, so we got a little bit of a quarterback fight going on here, potentially, between the last 2 people in this draft to take a quarterback, and that's going to be the 2 Daves. So Dave is up first. Dave Richard. Dave Kluge's up second. We'll see. I mean, Tua is staring at you right now, right? Because we've got 9 quarterbacks off the board, the big 8, and then Anthony Richardson. So we'll see if Dave is going to take Tua from other Dave. We'll find out.
Do you want him, Dave?
Not really. Go for
it. All right.
Maybe I do.
Do you want him, Dave Richard?
Nope.
Rashawn Johnson. All right. And then Dave Kluge takes Elijah Moore. All right, we got a little bit of a
he has the ability to do that though.
Right. He can take Tua coming back if he wants.
Well, actually, I really think OJ should consider taking Tua here with Anthony Richardson. I know that you can say, oh, take Anthony Richardson and Jared Goff or Daniel Jones, whatever, Kirk Cousins. You shouldn't necessarily pass up Tua, but he will.
No. But that's also, you might need 3 quarterbacks then.
Why? Because Tua's going to get hurt?
If Tua gets hurt.
Yeah. All right, he takes A-Chain. Is it she takes A-Chain, by the way?
I believe it's Jessica.
Yeah, sorry about that, Jessica. Jessica takes Evan Ingram and Devon A-Chain. All right, Kluge, take Tua.
I just don't see the need for it. When I start looking at the quarterbacks that are still on
All right.
the board.
Schaefer, you gave him Najee Harris. I don't think that's who we say. That would be a terrific pick.
In this draft, you can draft Najee Harris twice.
All right, I'm sorry, Klug. I interrupted you. Damian Harris there. Oh, Dave takes Tua. Here we go.
I probably could have gotten away with not taking him and risk that no one else would take
No,
the
Adam
second
would have taken him.
quarterback.
For sure. Adam would have taken him for sure.
You think so?
Yeah.
Okay.
I wouldn't have.
Yes, he would have.
Maybe in round 11, actually. Not this round.
I mean, I said it right when we started the show. I don't feel like your league mates and people you're drafting with can really punish you for waiting on quarterback this year. It's nice and you feel that comfort if you get one of those top guys, but beyond there, I mean, there's going to be guys that are going to break out this year, and even if you got to stream for the first few weeks and kind of figure it out, whether it's Geno Smith coming back with another elite season or Russell Wilson, returning to form as a top 5 guy like we've seen throughout his career, or Jared Goff, just in barn burners every single week. If I don't get one of those top guys, I'm okay just waiting until the very end of the draft, picking whoever's available, grabbing the last 2 quarterbacks, and then streaming throughout the season.
Guys, I like what Joel's done here with his running backs. Barkley in round 1, but let's take some high upside guys. Cam Akers, I don't know if he's super high upside, but Dylan's got that injury upside. Charbonnet has that injury upside. So
the Akers pick was a steal.
Yeah.
Absolute steal as far as he felt.
Akers is kind of on like a running back island there if you look at the board. I mean, and the fact is he missed out on, there was Pacheco, Khalil Herbert, and DeAndre Swift. That's a pretty good run of running backs in mid-round 7 to mid-round 8. Akers, Pacheco, Herbert, Swift, A.J. Dillon, and then Pirine we like too. And Dalvin Cook went. Hope I'm going the right way on the snake. Let's take a look at Schneier's team. I haven't made fun of Schneier tonight. So he's probably meant to take Brian Robinson, 6th overall, but we made him take Bijan Robinson. Jalen Waddle over Devontae Adams. Interesting. You guys have Waddle or Adams?
Adams.
I believe I have Adams higher.
Kluge, Waddle or Adams?
I've got Adams, but I'm probably going running back there.
Okay, so one way or another, we all agree Schneider made a terrible pick in round 2. Then he went with another Jalen Hurts, Deebo Samuel, Breece Hall. I mean, that's a polarizing pick. I guess we should talk about that. I think Dave would like that pick in the middle of round 5. Jamie would say it's too early.
No, round 5 is fine for Breece.
Okay.
I think it's a steal. I love that pick.
I was going to take him if he had fallen to me. I think you guys knew that already.
Oh, Jamie, can you give me another minute, please?
Sure, Diva.
Do my job here. All right. What should
I was torn between Breece and Amari Cooper at the top of the 4th round. I just, even if Breece does get off to a slow start, I don't think that Dalvin Cook is going to be able to hold him off for the entire season. So what I look at with Breece Hall is that even if you're throwing away, the some of the early weeks, I think he's going to be that late season hammer that's going to help a lot of people. So I really like that pick. And had I taken Breece, I wouldn't have even thought about taking Kamara there because that's, a lot of sketchy early season weeks, but I think people are overreacting to the Dalvin Cook edition.
So I tend to agree with you, Dave. And there have been 2 questions that have been racing through my head all day. I'm going to give you guys both of them, and I'm happy to entertain your answers for both of them. Here's the first one. In round 4, other than quarterbacks, who are the players that have the same type of league-winning upside that Breece Hall has?
Based on ADP?
We can do it based on ADP. There might be some names that you give me that I'll wholeheartedly agree with you on.
All right, so I'll go to our ADP because I have it up. So,
okay, please.
And Walker is the first name that comes to mind.
Okay. Like, I'm as much as I was talking about Walker today, and that's one of the reasons why I was so focused on Walker, I still had Breece Hall higher.
Okay.
All right, so our ADP, again, takes into account all of the scoring formats. So take that into consideration because Devontae Smith is in at 38, which is crazy. But so 37 is Alexander Madison. I would take him over Breece Hall right now. Devontae Smith is 38.
Hold on.
No, I would take Devontae Smith over.
Before you just say who you take over, I think it's important to ask Dave to answer Dave's specific question was who has more league winning upside. So do you think Madison has more league winning upside than Breece Hall?
Yes.
Okay. Devontae Smith, I think we all agree.
Yes.
Going too late.
Yes. Jahmyr Gibbs, yes. Chris Olave, yes. George Kittle, no.
Yeah.
T. Higgins, yes. Calvin Ridley, yes. Justin Fields, you said no quarterback.
Yeah, no quarterbacks. Because, of
Amari
course, you're going to
Cooper,
find quarterbacks with league winning upside. Who would you say after Justin, Jamie?
Amari Cooper.
No.
James Conner, I would say yes.
I struggled with that one.
Listen, they gave him. First off, you gotta just look at the whole picture of how this all unfolded.
Yes, I agree.
Aaron Rodgers himself decided he's going to take a pay cut. Why did he take a pay cut? Because he wants to get players around him that he wants and they trust. Who's the guy that they went out and signed and paid more than probably anybody expected them to pay? Is Dalvin Cook. Now,
I thought you were going to say Randall Cobb.
Is that because
right?
They already had Cobb on the roster.
There's a follow-up to my second question.
They already had Cobb on the roster. They paid Dalvin Cook this money, which we kind of already saw that this was coming. And you have a guy that's coming off a horrific knee injury that it takes a year to get back to typically playing at the level that they're used to playing at, or being close to the level of player that
Jamie, you're up.
They're used to being. So you have the quarterback who clearly wanted Dalvin Cook there, who, by the way, I believe, if I heard the stat correctly, Dalvin Cook averaged over 100 yards rushing against the Packers every time that they play each other. So he knows what he's capable of doing. And you have a guy coming off this knee injury. It just feels as if, I think Dave's right. You want to hope that Breece Hall by the end of the season is performing like Breece Hall. But you got to get there. And so round 4, okay, you want to take a chance on it, I get it. Round 5 to me is a sweet spot for him. Anything in the first 3 rounds, you're making a huge mistake by taking Breece Hall because we may not see the best of him. By the time you do, your fantasy season could be over.
And that plays into the second question that I had, which was if Aaron Rodgers wanted Dalvin Cook there, if that's exactly what happened, and I think we can read between the lines and come to that conclusion, then does that mean that it's going to be an uphill battle for Breece Hall longer than just the first month of the season?
No, I don't think so.
What would it take for Aaron Rodgers to say, oh, wow, Breece Hall is actually better than Dalvin Cook. Let's go with him because he got there. Like I could have argued, well, that must mean that Allen Lazard and Randall Cobb are going to hold back Garrett Wilson from having a big year because Aaron Rodgers wanted those guys on the Jets with him. But I know that Aaron Rodgers has already identified Garrett Wilson as a superstar, and he's going to throw to him a bunch.
But
so I'm wondering, when is that going to happen?
If Breece Hall is healthy, he's bringing the corpse of somebody with him that he wants, like an Ezekiel Elliott, to be there. And maybe Dalvin Cook is that guy. He could absolutely be a shell of himself. He's coming off shoulder surgery, all those things, 28 years old, same thing. But Breece Hall is coming off of an injury. That's the biggest difference. Garrett Wilson's not coming off of a situation.
No, of course.
Breece Hall is, but if I'm Aaron Rodgers and I'm looking at, you talk to any person that is looking at future bets and studying these things, the Jets are an ideal team to gravitate toward as a potential Super Bowl champion. They have a defense that's on par with everybody in the league of the top 10 or 12 defenses. They have a quarterback that, if he's right, is an MVP guy. They have talent on almost every spot. But if they don't have a run game to support him, and that's Aaron Rodgers, he's not going to be comfortable. You look at the run game he's had in Green Bay, it's been excellent. And does he have that in New York right now? And that's, I think, what he's questioning.
Yep.
They also have potentially a terrible offensive line.
Right. And
it's the worst offensive line he's probably ever played with.
Right. Wow. And that's saying something. He's had some bad ones. But it's definitely a problem. Elijah Vera Tucker was out at practice today, meaning he didn't play. There is nobody left. We're at pick 130.
You know why? That's because nobody's taking any quarterbacks. In a normal draft, for those of you watching, there are 11 quarterbacks, I think, that have been drafted so far. In a normal draft at this point, but they usually were further into the quarterback pool, I'd say. And yeah, there's garbage right now. I was going to take a second quarterback because I was looking at the receivers left, and I was like, these are waiver wire guys. I took a second tight end instead. I think Zamir White, we don't talk enough about. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but man, this Jacob's starting to scare me a little bit. Between the Colts and between Taylor and Jacobs went back to back in the second round. Do you see reason to Kluge? Do you see reason to? You can make your pick. Sorry about that.
I just want to say I had Zamir White queued up, and then you threw his name out there, and OJ took him.
I do that. Yeah. So why did you have him queued up, and what do you think about that situation?
I mean, even if he does play, call it a fluke, call it a trend, whatever you want. But, with the amount of touches that Josh Jacobs saw last year, he is a candidate to possibly miss some time this year. That's what we see when somebody sees as much volume as he saw last year. And Zamir White, I really liked him coming out of college. He was a great running back and was just held to, almost no work last year, but he's got the build, he's got the frame, he's got the size, the speed, everything you want to see to be a potential 3-down back. So, I wrote an article about injury away running backs recently, and he was the first guy that I wrote up about. He started to creep up boards a little bit. He was going in round 18 for the majority of the offseason. As soon as the Josh Jacobs holdout started, then he started creeping into the 15th and the 14th, and now we see him going in the 11th round. But even at the 11th round, I'm okay taking him because his upside in that offense, if Jacobs doesn't play, is immense. I mean, Josh McDaniels showed us last year that he wants to give the full lion's share to one running back.
We have a special guest ready to join us today. It is the birthday boy, Zach Brooks.
Hey.
Happy birthday, Zach Brooks.
Appreciate it, guys. Appreciate
Happy birthday,
it.
man. I
Thank
realized
you.
it was your birthday when I saw you today. Happy birthday.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, man. How old are you now?
Old enough, 28. So
28. All right.
Old
How
enough.
do you feel
Yeah.
about your team?
I like it so far. The amazing Alcatraz or Alatrash has been sniping me every single time. So yeah. So no, I mean Jefferson, great start. Really wanted Josh Jacobs. Jamie snagged him. Really wanted Jonathan Taylor. He snagged him. Then I'm like, wait a minute. If I don't grab, there's not really a receiver I wanted to grab there. And if I don't grab Mahomes, he's gone. And then I gotta wait till we're turn around 4 or 5 to grab another quarterback. And then I'm reaching. So I was like, you know what? Give me Mahomes. Give me Andrews. Najee's still there. Madison's still there. And then just upside guys from there on out.
Yeah, I mean, that's the latest I've seen Mahomes go. So I think you got a lot of value there, 24th overall. Andrews was an interesting pick. And, I know you couldn't forecast your 4th and 5th picks, but obviously it left you a little weak at wide receiver. This is a 3-receiver league. So you cool with your, Jefferson, obviously, but then Williams, Pickens, Burks.
I mean, is Keenan Allen going to stay healthy this year? He's another year older. He's doing the Masked Singer. Got some off-field stuff going on. They just drafted somebody in the first round. If he doesn't stay healthy, then it's Williams, then it's Quentin Johnston. So, I mean, they just paid Williams a couple of years ago. I think he's fallen a lot farther than I really expect. And then Pickens, I mean, is there a bigger upside guy left in round 7 right there than George Pickens? So it's kind of that's kind of my mindset right there. Yeah, it's my mindset.
Okay. All right. Let's see what's going on in the draft here. We only have a few rounds left. What do we have? 14 rounds tonight?
Yep.
14 rounds. So we can start taking a look at our teams. And we just took a look at Zach's. Jamie, how about you with the 3rd pick? Talk about how things came together for you.
Well, the receiver run in round 2 wasn't ideal. I wasn't anticipating, missing out on all those guys. So taking Josh Jacobs there was not a bad fallback option, but I would have preferred another receiver. So starting with Jamar Chase, that's fine. Unbelievable start. But I don't love when I take quarterbacks, but you know what though, when it's all said and done, knowing that as Dave 101 said, you can't necessarily, I think you don't necessarily have to dive in the quarterback pool early, but to get Josh Allen in round 3 was, when I take the broader scope of it, I know that I have just the guy who could be the best player in fantasy overall. So it's not a bad place to be. My receiving core is the issue. My running backs are fine with Jacobs, Aaron Jones, and Miles Sanders with Samaje Perine as the 4th option. I'll probably take one more at some point here as well. But my receivers, if Marquise Brown stinks and Jackson Smith and Jigba stinks, that 2 and 3 spot's going to be frustrating. But, Juju on the bench, Jameson Williams by week 7, Tank Dell, I think I'll be all right there.
All right. I picked 2 picks after Jamie with the 5th pick, and I've got the Geezer squad, Eckler and Devontae Adams to start things off, but fine with that. ETN. Yeah, I had a tough time deciding between ETN and Jalen Hurts. Yeah, I mean, I think, Higgins went a little earlier than I thought. Andrews went a little earlier than I thought. So ETN fell a bit to me. I don't know if he fell, but Hurts certainly fell. I went with ETN and Fields 2 rounds later. I'm happy with that. Metcalf, we already talked about. So I got a nice balanced team there. 2 running backs, 2 receivers. Then best player available to me was Justin Fields. James Cook is definitely not someone that I was interested in drafting a month ago. And boy, has he risen. And I am buying it enough. So
Travis Kelce in January or James Cook now?
Hold on. I have to take a second quarterback, obviously.
I like the Cook pick.
Thank you.
For what it's
I
worth.
loved it. Yeah, it was great.
Okay. And then, yeah, let's get another Bill on there. Gabe Davis, and obviously
GD
at tight end. I like Jeff Wilson. I like Quentin Johnston because I think Quentin Johnston is like sort of a high-end handcuff that could have some decent weeks even without an injury. But if Keenan Allen or the very injury-prone Mike Williams misses time, could see a pretty big year from Quentin Johnston.
I agree.
Laporta, I don't know if I need to take him, but why not give yourself another chance at tight end? That's kind of what you do. You take some late shots. So that's my team. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, whatever. Pacheco's still out. We'll see what happens. But I know he's working his way back. But I am happy with my team. I don't love it, but I like. I'll give it a A-. Dave, you were next. Dave Richard with the 10th pick.
Diggs leading off, knowing that I could get a good running back in round 2. And Derrick Henry was that guy. In fact, overall for my team, if you're an ageist or if you had DJ Moore on your fantasy team last year, you're going to hate my team because I have both those guys. And Henry's, listen, just saying, Derrick Henry was number 4 among running backs last year in PPR in fantasy points per game. And it was a down year for him. He averaged 19 PPR points per game. His offensive line's better this year. Passing game is going to force safeties to play back a little bit. I don't think we talk about Derrick Henry enough, and I loved getting him in round 2. And then I did something that I'm trying to do more of, and that's go receiver crazy with my next few picks, and it's exactly what I did. I took DJ Moore next, followed that up with Christian Watson, and love that trio of Diggs, Moore, and Watson. All 3 of them have game-breaking upside on a week-to-week basis, and as far as stability goes, I think Diggs and Moore give me that. Took Pitts after that. A lot of people don't like Kyle Pitts. I think he'll be good, not necessarily great, but worth the price tag I paid. Connor, same thing. And then Mike Evans is another player that
Connor really boosted your 3 receiver early strategy.
I agree. So, and he slid a little bit. He's one of those unpopular running backs that has averaged 15 PPR points per game each of the past 2 years. And he's even done it in games without Kyler Murray where the Cardinals are trailing. It might not be 15, but it's like 13. So he can get there. I loved getting him in round 6. And Mike Evans is somebody that we don't talk a lot about. He's apparently looked great in practice all through training camp. They're moving him around more. Remember last year he played out on the perimeter with Tom Brady and his weak arm. Now it's Baker Mayfield and his bad accuracy, but at least he can hit it short. And I think that you could see Mike Evans have not his best year, obviously, but maybe he gets close to 1,000 yards and maybe he gets 7 or 8 touchdowns on top of it. And he's my number 4 wide receiver.
And okay. And then Herbert and Rashawn Johnson. And
I took both Bears running backs. I got the chance. I'm sure Kluge saw it before I did, but
you're on the clock, Dave. Just letting you know you have 8 seconds.
Rashawn Johnson, I thought thank you, Jamie. I thought he had a great start to his first preseason game. Love the physicality. We know that he can catch the ball in the backfield. We didn't see him pass protect, but we think he can do that too. The fact that he was getting first team reps in practice this week, right after the preseason game, leads me to believe that he'll have a chance to really be a great sleeper this year. And I liked pairing him with Khalil Herbert, kind of going to get both Bears running backs.
I love it, Dave. I'm just going to step in here as a Bears fan really quickly. I love that pairing. If you can get Khalil Herbert and Rashawn Johnson, I think Khalil Herbert, projects to be the guy there. But if anybody's going to have that, RB1 upside, it's Rashawn Johnson because of his abilities in the in the pass catching game. So typically I don't like drafting 2 running backs from the same team, but I think that the ambiguity there in Chicago has scared drafters so much that you can take 2 guys from this backfield and it actually can work out pretty well.
Right. The draft cost is a huge part of it. The fact that you're able to get Herbert cheap and Rashawn cheap relative to, 30 other running backs in fantasy is a huge part of it. And Rashawn's like the cheapo version of what I was saying with Breece Hall. By the time Halloween comes around, he could be the starter in Chicago and a must-start number 2 fantasy running back from game to game.
Dave, Richard, I'm going to, unless Schneier picks the guy, which he's not going to do because he's Schneier, that I want, I'm going to take the guy that you should have taken with your last pick.
Who should I have taken with my last pick?
Well, I can't give it away. Tajay Spears.
No, I'm good.
Come on, just admit it. You should have taken Tyjae Spears.
No.
Just admit it's okay.
No.
All right, Kluge, you can talk about your team now, but I think you should start with your last 2 picks. You waited and waited and waited for quarterback. Daniel Jones. Oh, yeah, it's Tyjae Spears time for me. Daniel Jones and Kyler Murray.
Yeah, Daniel Jones, I mean, he was the QB9 last year, and now he's actually has a real weapon in Darren Waller. So, year 2 in Brian Daboll's offense, I'm expecting a little step forward for him. We didn't see a lot as a passer last year, but he does have that, we talk about it all the time, sneaky rushing upside for Daniel Jones. So I don't think that he's got the same ceiling as some of the guys that are going earlier in drafts, but what I'd probably do here, assuming that there's more bench spots if we weren't doing a mock draft, if we were playing an actual managed league here, I might even go with a third quarterback and just kind of stream based on matchups. So, the way that quarterbacks were falling here, it was just tough for me to pull the trigger on any of them. So was pretty happy to get Daniel Jones that late in the draft and then paired him up with Kyler Murray. Obviously, we don't know if or when Kyler Murray's coming back, but even if he does have some, suppressed rushing upside coming off of the ACL tear, I think people have this idea that Kyler Murray is like Tim Tebow, all he can do is rush the ball, but he's also one of the most accurate passers out there. So I'm okay taking Kyler Murray, hoping that he's got that QB1 upside at the end of the season. Realistically, probably not stashing him through bye weeks. I'll probably have to drop him for a running back or something like that. But just wanted to talk about Kyler Murray. I think people have just completely written him off for dead when there's a chance that he could be back by, week 4 or week 5.
Zach, when are you going to – oh, wait, no, Dave, sorry, Kluge, talk about the rest of your team. I mean, how do you think it turned out? You like it?
I am, yeah. I'm kind of taking the RB2 by committee approach. Really happy with Jahmyr Gibbs. My kind of macro take on Jahmyr Gibbs is that if Bijan Robinson wasn't in this draft class, we'd be taking him in the early second round. And I think a lot of drafters and rankers are just kind of nervous about putting 2 rookies that high up draft boards. But when you look at running backs historically with that type of draft capital, teams have big plans for them. And, I'm not really too scared off by David Montgomery. I don't think that he's going to see, 37 or whatever it was touches inside the 10 like Jamal Williams did last year. I think that was kind of fluky. I think Jahmyr Gibbs is the clear, obvious RB1 here. He's looked great so far in the preseason. He's got that pass catching upside, can score from anywhere on the field. So I really like Jahmyr Gibbs. He's one of my favorite targets this year. You can kind of do a hero RB build with Jahmyr Gibbs, but you don't have to take him until the middle or the late 3rd round. Obviously, with Alvin Kamara being suspended early in the year, I just kind of went nuts on some of these mid to late round running backs, Isaiah Pacheco, Damian Harris, Jerick McKinnon, Gus Edwards, hoping one of them could step up. Obviously, RB2 is going to be a struggle for me early in the season, but overall, I'm happy with it. Darren Waller, another favorite target of mine. I've got him as my tight end 3 behind Kelsey and Andrews. Obviously, there's some injury concern there, but I already made the investment with Darren Waller, so figured I'd double down later in the draft with Daniel Jones.
I love that Dave is on the – it might be my new favorite Dave because we agree on almost everything. I struggled with Josh Allen versus Jahmyr Gibbs at the beginning of round 3. That's how I was viewing him too. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And Darren Waller.
You know who else would agree with you and Dave? Schneier would definitely agree with that with you.
Wow. A shot at Schneier, even though he's not here.
All right. What Zach, how you celebrating your birthday, buddy? Other than Jack?
Not much. Birthdays on a Tuesday is not really great. Yeah. Prefer for Thursday, Friday, Saturday, so we'll celebrate it this weekend, but it's kind of taking it easy.
Yeah, do you go weekend before or weekend after? I think Tuesday you're obligated to go weekend before. It's
moved into a new place this weekend, was exhausted, wasn't really feeling it, so thinking a weekend after and just kind of going from there.
All right, people are gonna have to fake it.
Yeah.
I think when he woke up this morning, the highlight was going to be this, right?
Yeah.
This is how he's celebrating turning 28.
Yeah, lots of fun.
Well, I want to thank everybody for being here. Jamie's going to write up a recap and talk about the teams from the 3 people who very generously donated to St. Jude to be part of this. So thank you so much to all of you. And for anybody else out there that wants to donate, go to tinyurl.com/FFT donate. We have so many things for you to bid on. We have appearances on our podcast. We have mock drafts that you can be a part of. We have private Zoom calls with our analysts, things like that. There's a spot in the For the People, or we're calling it the Leftovers League now, formerly known as the For the People League. The Leftovers League spot is going to be available on Thursday, Zach?
Yeah.
Thursday. So you can bid on that to be in one of our podcast leagues. Have a great night, everybody. And we will talk to you tomorrow on Fantasy Football Today.